What's up, everyone? This is Bill with BLRTUNING. Today's watch is another Invicta. It's another one in my collection. This one has the yellow gold, 2 dials, and it is a graffiti edition. So really cool. It's got, looks like a bunch of spray paint all over it. Anyways, today's video we're going to be doing an install on the Teryx 5H2. This will fit your Teryx 4H2 as well. The 2026 side-by-side from Kawasaki. And this is from RPM, so rpmsidebyside.com. There'll be a link in the description below to go check them out. So, and they are sponsoring this video. So huge shout out to them for getting this out to me very quickly. I was really impressed with the shipping time. Just took like a week to get here, if that. A few days. So this is going to be the blow-off valve, and the blow-off valve can go back to the intake. You can use the factory hose and go back to the intake, or you can use external and cap the plug over there where it would normally connect to the intake. And that's how we're going to be doing this install. We're going to install it so it is a external blow-off valve, so it's blowing back to atmosphere. So this is a really nice piece of hardware here. Make sure you're careful when you're pulling it out of the box, because this piece does swivel and open up and actually come off of there like so. Okay, so don't drop it. Okay, but because it swivels, the actual exit right here can be mounted anywhere, any direction. And then this will swivel on top as well. You don't need to tighten this, but that'll swivel on top as well. And it gives you just a ton of mounting options. It does come with all the hoses. Like I said, the little rubber plug that you would need if you're not going to use the factory hose or one of the RPM hoses. They do have, I think when I checked as of recording this video, they had green and black. So they do offer some hoses. They also offer some plumbing for the intercooler as well. There you can see. And everything is really nice. This billet aluminum. And that is to plug that hose that goes back over to the intake side of everything. Got a rubber cap there as well. Okay, so they do give you a lot with this. You do also have a filter here. So I do think that's another cool feature here. If you want to put the filter on, you can. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys what it sounds like stock and without the air filter. Okay, so just some things to note here. It does come with silicone grease. That's going to go on this O-ring underneath. The filter is simply to muffle the sound if you don't like the loud sound. Okay, we're going to run it without the filter, but that's what the filter is for. And it does have a rain sock on it, so it is weatherproof. The plug, looks like they included a billet aluminum one, and looks like maybe a Delrin material one there. The plug is if you're going to leave the hose that comes from the intake up to the factory blow-off valve. If you're going to leave that there, you could stick one of these in it, a hose clamp on it. That'll plug it. It does have hose clamps as well. One for that plug and one for the filter if you're going to run the filter. It does come with 3 springs. The soft one is installed. That would be matching up with the factory style blow-off valve. The springs are never going to be for added performance or anything like that. If you change the springs, there's a soft one installed, medium and hard spring. They are just going to change the sound of the blow-off valve. It does come with plenty of extra O-rings, a couple zip lines, and those zip lines be used to zip tie the boost reference line out of the way, the vacuum line. Okay, and then you do have your mounting bracket down here. And it does come with thread locker. That thread locker is going to be for the factory bolts. Okay, so this next clip is going to be with the stock setup. So, and this is stock exhaust, stock blow-off valve, running back to the intake. We're going to be recording with the Insta360 mounted right here in the back. And then I have the Meta glasses on I'll record inside the car with those. We'll do our install, then we'll let you hear what it sounds like with the new RPM blow-off valve. If we come over here to the vehicle, your stock factory blow-off valve is right here. That is it right there. You got 2 bolts holding it on. You got a reference line going to it, that's a vacuum line, and then you have the hose that goes to it that faces up from on the factory one, and it goes to the other side of your air intake tube right there next to the supercharger. You can kind of see the hose back here. So that is the hose that you can see right there. Okay. Now you can get to pretty much everything from the side of the vehicle right here on the right side. But what's easiest, also, what's going to help you do the install, is to remove this panel. So really easy to remove this panel. Pull all these push rivets out. We'll use our plastic pry tool. You'll find that on the plastic pry tool on our website. It's BLRTUNING.co. But we'll use that and we'll get that panel off. And then you'll have access to the whole top section of the motor right there. Okay, so we have the panel off. So now I can kind of show you guys what we got going on here. So we're going to need to remove these 10mm bolts. There's one on the other side, one here and one over here. We're going to need to remove this hose. So that's the big hose going back to the intake. Okay, and then, so we're going to loosen up this hose clamp. If yours has a pinch style, you would use a set of pliers and pinch it, and then that would release it. So we're going to need to get that out of there. And we're going to need to squeeze this up out of our way and get that hose off of here. Okay, off the factory blow-off valve. Okay, so let me do all that, and then there's going to be a gasket underneath here when you pull these bolts out. We're not going to be reusing that gasket. And then we are also going to hook it up so it has a direct reference from the throttle bodies down here. So we're going to be removing this hose. I'll show you all this as we go along here, but you can just hook this hose up to your new RPM blow-off valve, okay? You can just reuse this hose right here. You don't have to make any changes. And you can just put the cap in this hose here, tighten down that hose clamp, and you can leave it installed. Doesn't look as clean, but it'll get the job done. But what we're going to do is we're going to be removing this hose, and we're going to be rerouting it just right to the top of here. So basically it just plugs up that system. Because right now what this is a electronically controlled solenoid that opens and closes to control the blow-off valve. But we're gonna basically be deleting that. So we're gonna run the RPM hose that came in the kit to this line down here where my finger's at, back through here, and it's gonna come up and go over to the new blow-off valve. So let me get this stuff out of here and show you guys what this looks like. It's easiest just to do it a little bit at a time here. Get your new blow-off valve installed, get these off, and then concentrate on your boost reference line. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, remove this hose. Okay, so you can see here at the top of the motor, right there, I got the hose off of there and the hose clamp removed. We'll hop over to the right rear side and show you what we got to do here. So right here in the middle of the frame, that clamp is what we need to remove. That is the hose that comes down, and we need to squeeze that clamp and remove that so we can plug that hole on the other side with the rubber boot that came in the box. And just for reference, the easiest way is to loosen this. This is going to be an 8mm socket. Take the tube going from the supercharger, just take it off, stuff it up aside there, and then that is going to give you full access from the top of the rear to get that hose off there. You can see we have our hose right there, and here's what I was talking about. Okay, so we just removed the charge pipe, and now we have access to that nipple right there. We're going to put our plug on there, hose clamp, put our charge tube back on. Okay, we'll put our charge tube back on after our install because it's going to be easier to get to this bolt over here with this up out of the way as well. And it'll kind of stay right there. You don't need to take it off completely. So now we have our cap on there with one of the included hose clamps. And now we're going to come up here and we're going to remove this hose here. We're going to remove it from the blow-off valve and then remove these two 10mm bolts. Remember, there is a gasket underneath. We're not going to be reusing that. We are going to be reusing the bolts, and we're going to be putting blue thread locker on them. So let me get that done. Okay, so now we got our blow-off valve off of there. We got our hose undone, and our hose clamp for that hose is just sitting here. We don't want to lose that. We're going to reuse it. But we have this spot right here that we need to clean up really good. Okay, this needs to be absolutely clean. You're not going to reuse the gasket because the new blow-off valve is going to be using a O-ring, but we want to clean this surface up so it has a good mating surface. So we'll put some brake clean on a rag and just clean that up real good, get it all nice and shiny again. And then next we'll install our blow-off valve, and then these 10mm bolts, we're going to reuse them, the factory ones. And we're going to be using a drop of blue thread locker on the end of them, and they go down to 18 foot-pounds. Okay, and make sure when you're tightening them down, make sure you have your blow-off valve, the exit, make sure you have that. If you're not going to be reusing the hose, you want to have it facing down. If you're going to use the filter, figure out which way it can face and fit the filter on. We're not going to be using the filter. We're going to face it straight down, because when you tighten it up, that's kind of what clamps it in place. Okay, so you can get it on there and kind of rotate it where you want, and then tighten your bolts down to 18 foot-pounds. Okay, one thing to remember on your RPM blow-off valve, they do include some silicone grease. You need to apply some of that to this rubber O-ring. And then those O-rings that are in the box, those are if you ever have to rebuild this thing, okay? Should last 15, 20,000, 30,000 miles. I mean, it should last a long time before you ever have to take it apart. But if you ever did, you have the O-rings and everything to rebuild this thing in the box. Comes in the kit. There's one really nice thing about this kit. It does come with everything. Okay, so let's get some silicone grease on that O-ring and take our bracket and let's head over to the vehicle. See here, we have our blow-off valve mounted, torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. We have it facing just a slight angle, but downward. So if anything gets inside this, it can run out. If any liquid gets in there, or water, you know, kind of stuff like that, it can run out. We're not going to be running the filter on it. This can be rotated whichever way you need it to be. So now, the next step, and what I do like about this is you can get to the top of this if you wanted to change that spring or anything like that. Okay, and don't forget we still got to hook up our tube back there. So we'll do that as well. But let's get this line ran so I can show you guys that. This is your factory line. You can just go like this and go right back to it, and that will work. But if you want some better throttle response, you can get rid of this solenoid. Basically, we're gonna loop this up and measure where it needs to be cut. We're gonna cut it, and we're just gonna feed it right back into itself right here. And we're gonna remove this and remove it down there, and then we're going to use the hose that came in the kit down there to run straight to our blow off valve. So that's what I'm going to work on here. One thing to keep a note here, we're not going to be reusing the hose that we pulled out from down below at that little T down there. If you pull up on it, once you remove that, once you lift the clamp up, you'll be able to get it off there. On our new hose, we're going to run it through the same routing, through this little opening, leave us just a little bit of slack, and it's going to go up here on there like that. You can use a little bit of the included grease on the little barb there, and that will help slide this silicone hose back on there, because it is going to be a chore. It's a tight little hose that goes on that clamp there, or on that barb. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, you can see how it's mounted here. And then you can see how your hose is routed. We left a little bit of slack there, that's fine. It's not gonna hurt nothing. This guy can swivel, so we have it in the position that we want. And now we gotta put our charge tube back on here. Okay, and then we're done. We'll put this panel back on. We'll take it for a little rip up the road and back and let you guys hear how it sounds. Remember, we are using the soft spring, no filter, vented to atmosphere. And just so you guys can get a close up here of how that everything is routed, the factory hose that would have went there to the blow off valve, we got rid of it. We removed that little squeeze hose clamp down here off of that, and then we pulled the hose off that T and out of this right here. So now we're feeding our new RPM hose back through there. We cut the line and made it so it fits and put it right back up on top here, and we're using the factory hose clamp right here. So this is just routing back into itself. It's not doing anything. We're using actual vacuum pressure. Difference back here for the blow off valve. Okay, panel's back on, everything reinstalled. Motor's warming up, put some heat in the motor. See our blow valve right there. Okay, so next you'll hear is the metal glasses from the inside and the Insta360 here on the back. Let you guys hear what it sounds like. Okay, so this is inside the car, blow off valve's installed. You hear that right there, still going. Okay, you can hear that hissing. Okay, videos from inside the car. This is with the blow off valve installed. So you can see if I let off, guys, that's my install video. I hope this video helps somebody out. Huge shout out to RPM for sending this out to us to do the install video. I'm super excited to see what else they come out with, and we will definitely keep you guys updated. There will be a link in the description below to go check this out. I can't thank these guys enough for letting us do this. Go check out their website, rpmsxs.com. I'm Bill with BLRTUNING. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.